Kundalini and an awakening of Kundalini is going to hold different meanings to different traditions. Essentially, it's the personifying of Kundalini energy as a coiled serpent or dragon, where something lower goes higher, and this surge of energy through the human physiological system causes noticeable changes. I believe that Spirit Keeper's Tarot is crafted in such a way that regular use and bonding with it can lead down a path toward a Kundalini awakening. In fact, in case you haven't noticed yet, there is a recurring imagery or signs and omens of a coiled serpent throughout the deck. That might actually be a fun exercise. Yeah, no, identify all the keys in the deck that make symbolic reference to a coiled serpent. Personally, I would never instruct on a methodology toward awakening because it's not within my belief systems or values that awakening is something one ought to pursue. It's something that should simply happen when it happens. So I'll try not to repeat what's already in the Book of Maps, and here I'm going to assume you've read that section of the book. This video is a supplement to that chapter and will simply build on the contents of the book on Kundalini Awakening. After it happens, you're not suddenly wiser or a better human being, but I do believe your perspective shifts through a point of no return. The way you see the world shifts. You really aren't the same person, and you know it with an undeniable, unshakable conviction. I would describe it as a shift through a point of no return that is not brought on by any external circumstances. It's brought on by internal circumstances. In other words, it can happen through yoga, qigong practices, meditation, or intense, dedicated work with the craft, intense, dedicated study of esoteric traditions. But it's not the same as how sometimes our perspective on life might shift because of an external circumstance, like the death of a loved one or your physical world getting turned upside down. I would also add that after the awakening, you in fact realized the concentration of energies inside your body was imbalanced. And after the awakening, the energies seem to temper or even out. And specifically, something lower ascends higher. And in that ascent, the energies overall balance. That balance then gives you a huge power source of chi or vitality to draw from. It's a special kind of chi, however. You just feel like you have a much larger, deeper reservoir of personal chi that can now be directed into all endeavors, including your craft. But that sense of balance and rectification of your internal energy bodies only happens if the awakening happens in an even-keeled, tempered way. If you artificially stimulate it to happen, in a manner of speaking, that in fact it can cause a huge imbalance, like someone has pushed you over a cliff and you lose all sense of gravity and grounding. My concern is if the esoteric practice you've engaged in that brings about a Kundalini awakening wasn't well regulated and well tempered, you can, I jokingly call it telekinetic powers like Carrie in that Stephen King movie, but let me explain. You might be subconsciously making negative or unwanted things happen in your life due to the imbalance of powers in your energy body that is then affecting your mind. I speculate that that's why some people who aren't practicing under trained, masterful tutelage or who aren't taking it slow and steady and being very tempered with what they're doing might talk about Kundalini awakening as negative, as tower moments in their lives that upturn everything in an adverse or chaotic way. My recommendations for practices that facilitate an awakening, to put it in very broad, all-inclusive strokes, when you set your intention and work proactively toward the self-improvement of mind, body, and spirit, all three, and in harmony, and you quest toward improvement of mind, body, and spirit, for no other reason or motivation except the optimization of you in the present moment, no undue attachment to the past and no undue attachment to the future, Kundalini awakenings happen. And the initiation process with Spirit Keeper's Tarot is one of many approaches toward making that happen. I do believe very strongly that you can't do it because you want an awakening. You have to do it because you seek some greater sense of understanding and divine wisdom. I also believe adamantly that it has to be a holistic approach. You can't just do one thing. It's your diet, it's exercise, meditation, qigong, martial arts, training, yoga. It's the code of conduct you conform your behavior to, all alongside esoteric practices and study. So, in that sense, it kind of has to be everything all at once. You don't just color in pretty tarot card pictures with markers while you listen to Taylor Swift and hope for the best. It really has to be holistic. No matter where you are right now in terms of your physical health or physical capabilities, it's about still taking active measures to improve and enhance your own physical health. You can't be so satisfied with where you are physically that you don't do anything, and you can't be so dissatisfied with what fate has thrown at you that you give up all hope. So again, it's a harmonization of practices toward enhancing the health and wellness of mind, body, and spirit all together. A Kundalini awakening itself does, I believe, yield esoteric and what can be perceived as mystical abilities, but not. I actually do not see it as woo-woo at all. It's about as woo-woo as losing 50 pounds of weight or gaining muscular strength and suddenly feeling more energized and stronger than ever. That's all it really is. It can amplify who you are and what you do. I think it can help enable a more panoramic perspective. It does, in a way, feel like you're waking up from what had been a deep slumber, and now suddenly there's a new reality. The tarot, and in particular Spirit Keeper's tarot, helps along your path because the system gets you to activate the parts of your mind and the mindset that pave the way to awakening. Although I don't have a step-by-step how-to for Kundalini awakening with the tarot, I do have an exercise that might help you in terms of diagnosing your own energy body. Take your copy of the Spirit Keeper's Tarot and make sure it includes the version of Key Zero that you're working with. Remember, there are three. Make sure not all three are in the deck. Only the one you're presently working with as your significator card. I'm currently working with the Seeker. Now, the first thing you're going to do is hold the deck in the palm of your hand, and with your other hand, feel your heartbeat. You really want to sense out your pulse here, and when you shuffle the cards, you're going to mimic or replicate the rhythm of your heartbeat, so you have to pay attention here. Also, while one hand is over your chest to measure your heartbeat, the other hand is holding your cards. You do want to use your resting heart rate. So don't try to do this after you've gone for a run. Try to use your resting heart rate. As you feel your heartbeat, also feel the pulse pumping out not just blood, but qi, life force energy. Visualize the pumping out of the blood that you can feel as the pumping out of energy, and visualize that energy flowing all the way through your arm to your hand and emanating out into your tarot deck. I know it sounds a little kooky, but just humor me and do it. Then take the deck and shuffle the cards to the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Intuit for yourself how long you need for the shuffling, but approximately 1 minute is good enough. Now set the deck on your tabletop. Keep one hand touching the deck, preferably with your entire palm draped over and covering the cards. Then with your other hand, feel your palm scanning your body laterally from lower to higher, and only scan it lower to higher. So once your palm reaches the top near your forehead, instead of sliding backwards to go back down, stop and move your hand all the way back down to your base and scan up again. As you do this, feel yourself enter a meditative state and repeat, spirits of the holy light, reveal to me what you see inside. Repeat that as many times as necessary for you until you really feel a sense of assurance and conviction. Spirits of the holy light, reveal to me what you see inside. Spirits of the holy light, reveal to me what you see inside. Just to reiterate, the whole time you scan your lateral body with one palm, keep the other palm firmly over and covering your deck of cards on the table. Then with the same palm you just used to scan your body laterally, reach down to the deck of cards and fan it out across the table. The video that will play on the screen will demonstrate. Now, as above, so below, as within, so without. Sympathetically, the layout of fanned cards in front of you diagnoses or reflects back the energy imprint throughout your lateral body, lower to higher. The direction you fan your cards, left to right or right to left, doesn't matter as long as you remember which end corresponds with lower and which end corresponds with higher. Where you start is lower, the base of your body, your root. Where you end is higher, your crown, top of your head. How you approach reading your own energy body now is entirely up to you, and you can work with this method in any number of ways. If you work with 7 chakras, then you can pull cards at various points in the layout that correspond with the approximate point of a particular main chakra, like your root chakra, way over in the area of the fan of cards corresponding with where your hand had scanned the bottom of your body, or your crown chakra, way over in the area of the fan of cards corresponding with where your hand scanned the top of your head. I like to pull just one card from somewhere near my solar plexus chakra and preview. This is something we're going to work with in the guided Akashic Tarot reading. I'll pull a card to correspond with the solar plexus chakra and then just read it the way you might use a thermometer to measure your body temperature. Here you're using the Spirit Keeper's Tarot and the messages from Spirit to measure your energy imprints. And like I said, you can work with this method any way you like. You don't just have to limit yourself to gauging solar plexus chakra only. I hope that's obvious. That's just what I do. You have to do you. To close, flip over all the cards, but keeping it in the consecutive order they were in the fan spread, and locate your significator card, your key 0. I'll gather the fan in my hands to locate key 0, but you just have to remember which side is lower, which side is higher, which end is the root chakra, and which end is the crown chakra. Also, keep on the lookout for key 1, the Magus, key 8, the Force, and key 15, the Demon. If you've been reading the Book of Maps, you'll know exactly what these 3 cards correspond to and why they're spiritually significant here. The location of the Magus reveals to you the chakra correspondences that's most constructive for you, meaning where you are right now in your life, the obstacles and challenges you face. If you exert more of the powers corresponding with the chakra closest to where you find the Magus, you can get over the hurdles that are currently holding you back. The Force reveals a power source where your internal personal energy concentrates in a powerful but still untapped way for you. So this is potential source energy. You're going to want to focus a little more on figuring out how to activate this power source and enable it to be productive for you. Where you locate the Demon, that's alerting you to a knot of tension inside of you where personal energy is bottlenecked. Physical and mental health concerns that you've been plagued with can be a result of bottlenecked or tense knots of energy going on here. And if 2 of these cards appear side by side, oh boy, that means things are very, very interesting in your life right now. Basically, there's a head-to-head tension, a face-off, and inner conflict that needs resolving, and you should really be focusing on this instead of playing more games on your phone or watching another episode of Real Housewives. This tarot reading for you just suddenly got very, very important, so pay attention and figure your shit out. So to summarize, the inner energy body imprint reading, the Fan of Cards, is a projection of your inner energy body lower to higher, which in metaphysical theory can help you diagnose your own internal energy structure, which, yes, does relate to your latent Kundalini. Prior knowledge of chakra or acupunctural chi energy hub points correspondences is probably needed for this Kundalini tarot reading method, but I mean, you can find all that stuff online these days. But yes, to borrow certain vocabulary from Eastern and Asian esoteric traditions, Spirit Keeper's Tarot is crafted to help with measured, steady, tempered awakening of your inner Kundalini.